Hi, this is Matt Carroll with the Northwest Kansas Junior Golf Association. I wanted to use this video to go over the rules that a tournament manager would need to understand for running a tournament. The rule sheet is available on the website in several places. You can go to the tournament director's webpage, the specific page for the tournament director, and go to the tournament forums and click on rule sheet, or you can go to the actual Northwest Kansas Junior Golf Association website, click on rules, and you can download the sheet from there. You will also receive a rule sheet in your packet of information that you should receive before running your tournament. Should look like this, and the rules. This is the rule sheet for 2018. It may change a little bit for 2019, but we should be pretty well consistent. Starting at the top, USGA rules will apply unless otherwise noted. Now, for 2019, there are quite a few changes in rules, so we need to make sure that we understand the changes for the rules. Some of the key ones being, if a player hits the ball out of bounds, they do not need to re-hit. They have the option to re-hit, but they do not need to re-hit. They can simply go to where their ball went out of bounds, take a lateral drop, and their penalty and play from there. Also, they can putt with the flag stick in. There's several different options there that have changed for 2019. So make sure that you understand the rules for 2019 and your players understand those rules as well. Etiquette is a big thing that they understand. I've seen a lot of times when people are talking while kids are playing off the tee box, or kids are putting on the green, and you have 2 or 3 players standing real close to that person that's putting, walking in their line, those types of things. So make sure that your players have a good understanding of golf etiquette. We do play the ball up everywhere except for in a hazard, unless conditions allow otherwise. I have had a few tournaments where we've had a lot of rain. We've played lift, clean place. If you do decide to play lift, clean place, or even just with playing the ball up, make sure that the players understand what that means. Make sure they know that they can't hit off the tee. Make sure they know that they only get a scorecard's distance and that they cannot go closer to the hole. I like to see players use their club to move the ball up and not placing it with their hand unless it's a lift, clean place situation. So just make sure that the players understand what this rule means. Our 10-shot pickup rule is there to speed up play. We do have times where we have players that may struggle on a hole, and so we allow no more than 10 shots. For ages 11 and under, after they get to 8 shots, they'll pick the ball up and place it a flag stick away from the hole, and they're allowed no more than 2 putts from there for a maximum of 10 shots. Now, there are certain circumstances. Let's say that their 8th shot puts them a foot away from the hole. Go ahead and let them putt it out from there. They don't have to move the ball back away from the hole. I also like to give them an ideal putt, not on a side hill or a downhill putt. Try to give them a straight uphill putt that's going to be a little bit easier putt for them to make and give them a little bit better of an option there. For our ages 12 and up, they'll simply pick their ball up after 10 shots and mark a 10 on their score. The 10 is not going to hurt them as far as medaling or anything like that. It's just counts down as a 10 and allows them to move on instead of struggling further with the hole. We do not allow practice on the course the day of the tournament, so make sure that all players understand that. Don't allow players to go out and play a few holes on the course before the play of the tournament. There is a designated place on each course to practice. Some courses may have a driving range, some may not. Most of them will have a practice green. If there's not one, there may be certain greens set up that they can use to practice on. Such as at Hill City, I know there's no practice green, but they can use the green on number 5 or on number 9 to practice there. Players need to have their own equipment. They can't use other players' equipment during the tournament or they'll be disqualified. They may use rangefinders. This is something that's been allowed in high school tournaments the last several years and has gone pretty well, but they're still not allowed to have cell phones with them or watches that can be used as range-finding devices for GPS and those types of things. So they may have rangefinders. If they're using rangefinders, tell them that they need to share that information with others. So if they take a range of distance and it's 134 yards to the green, make sure that they're letting everyone else know that information as well and sharing that to keep play as fair as possible. We like to have scores for our 13-year-old groups and under. Our older groups may be allowed to keep their own score if necessary. We do have some rules for spectators, and I will go through that here a little bit as well and show you what that's all about as far as with our markers also. But make sure that the markers and the spectators understand their rules, and I'll show you that here shortly. We award medals to the top 3 golfers in each division at each tournament. In case of a tie, a playoff will determine the medalist. If one of the tying golfers is left, of course, the medal automatically goes to the one that's left on site. If you have a tie for third, I still like to give out 4 medals and give a medal to both player that is tied, if we can, if you have enough medals. If you need an extra medal from me for that, let me know and I can get you a medal for that. But if you do have a tie for first place, we need to play that off on the course and see who has earned that medal, which medal. All players that earn a medal in a tournament qualify for the championship tournament at the end of the season. All qualifying golfers must register for the championship tournament on the website before the deadline if they wish to participate. You will receive some white cards that explain how they will register for this. So when you pass out medals, make sure you pass out the white cards to those players with those medals so that they know they need to register and know that they need to go to the website. And the website will explain everything that they need to know for that. Players must be 7 years old by January 1st. All of our age divisions are determined by the player's age on January 1st. So, for instance, right now I have a son that's 10 years old, but his birthday's in February, so he plays with the 8 and 9-year-olds. And that's just how things work out. And but they must be 7 years old by January 1st to medal in the divisional championship. Age divisions are determined by the golfer's age to January 1st. So we have had some kids that are 6 years old play in the past, but we do not allow them to play in the divisional championship. They can earn a medal in a regular open tournament, but they cannot play in the divisional championship. Golfers may choose to play in an older division, but they'll be competing for medals in their older division. They still must qualify in their correct age division. So, and I've had this happen before as well. Let's say you've got a girl that's really good. She's playing 12 and 13-year-old, and she wants to play 18 holes. You can allow her to move up and play those 18 holes, but she just has to understand that if she wants to play in the championship tournament, she needs to qualify in her correct age division first, or at least sometime throughout the season. Players need to have a tournament card. It needs to be the official tournament card of the Northwest Kansas Junior Golf Association. Cards are $10. They must show it at every tournament. So a player shows up, I always ask for their card. That way I can get a correct spelling when I record their name. If they have purchased a card and they need a replacement, it's $2 for a replacement card. These may be purchased at the tournament site, and you should have enough cards to have a few extras for that. Again, only accept official Northwest Kansas Junior Golf cards. I have seen some cards that clubs have made themselves. We will not accept those. I've also seen where people have made photocopies of cards, and I will not accept those either. Must be the official card for tournament entry. Your club is responsible for each golfer having a rule sheet, which we have right here in front of us. Please have these at all of your tournaments, and I will provide copies. You can also download and print these off the website. Make sure that their attire is appropriate. No inappropriate t-shirts or sloppy shorts. Make sure they're representing themselves, their town, their club, and the sport of golf. We should be in professional attire. All players must walk, no caddies, no parents carrying their clubs. They need to carry their own clubs, but I do see a lot of pull carts, and that's fine. Players may have pull carts, just not motorized carts. Obviously no tobacco, no foul language, no throwing clubs, and no cheating on the score. We will disqualify players because of this. And I have not had or seen any issues with this, which has been good. We've got pretty good kids. So tee times are listed here. Also shows which holes that they'll be playing off of. I'm going to go back and I want to show you the markers' duties, what they need to understand. Markers should attend a meeting with the tournament manager prior to tee off. Now this doesn't have to be a separate meeting. You can just go over all of these with the group before they tee off with a marker present. Again, the marker should have proper attire, no inappropriate clothing or things like that. Markers should not be using tobacco or alcohol while they're involved with the youth. They're not to be offering advice to any of the golfers. They can help them with rulings and that type of thing, and kind of, especially the younger kids, so that they understand, hey, you can take an unplayable lie here. This is what your options are. This is what you can do. But they should not be assessing penalties and that type of thing. They should have a cell phone and have your number so that they can notify you if they have anything come up on the course, or maybe a kid gets sick and they need someone to come pick them up, something like that. They should have a cell phone and have your number so that they can get a hold of you if they need to. The marker's duties will include recording the score hole by hole. This does include whiffs. Make sure that they're counting all the whiffs of each golfer in the group. Helping with the speed of play, keeping kids moving along because it can get kind of slow, especially with some of our younger kids. Watching the tee shots, looking for lost balls, having golfers communicate their score. I like to have the kids keep their score and then communicate it to the marker. I don't want to have the marker just saying you got a 6. I want the kid to count back and say I've got a 6, and the marker says yes, that's what I had you at. Or the kid says I had a 7, and the marker says well I had you at a 6, and they says well I had a whiff back there, or I took a penalty, or this type of thing. So have the kids get used to keeping their own score and relaying that to the marker. Notifying the tournament manager immediately if golfers have unauthorized use of caddies or motorized carts, or in possession of electronic devices. Receive advice, use profanity, throw clubs, cheat, and distant exposure. Anything that would disqualify a player from the tournament, the marker should be aware of and relay that to you so that you can address that as a tournament director. Hopefully we don't have any of those come up, but that is something that we need to make sure that we're keeping an eye on. A marker is not a referee and therefore may not decide questions of fact or apply the rules. You as the tournament director are going to be the arbitrator. You will be the one that's responsible for knowing the rules and assessing the penalties as it need to be. So when the hole is finished, the marker will ask the golfer for their score. Should there be a disagreement between the marker and the golfer regarding the number of strokes, they'll quickly do a mental replay of the hole, pointing out each stroke and penalty. A golfer who has incurred a penalty should inform their marker as soon as possible. It's the player's responsibility to know the rules. And then this is the ruling as it comes from the USGA rules book. So that is what your markers are used for. Sometimes it's hard to get markers. Sometimes you have people that volunteer willingly. Just make sure that you have good markers that understand the rules and know what is expected of them. And then our spectator guidelines, I'll go through this as well. And I have gone through this a little bit in our other video, but I'll go through this a little bit more detail. So make sure that your spectators basically understand that they need to be 30 yards behind the group they're watching. They don't need to be right up there with their kids. I don't want them up there offering advice, micromanaging their players. They need to follow golf etiquette. When the player you're watching finishes a hole, remember that the other players in the group may still be finishing, so don't be talking to their player, that type of thing. Make sure that they're a spectator and not part of the tournament. Spectators are not to pick up any golf balls on the course. These could be from players several fairways over, so make sure they understand that. Not to be offering any advice. They can help them, like I said, with rulings. You may take an unplayable, this is what you can do, that type of thing. But if they're 30 yards back behind them, it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, they shouldn't be helping with club selection or that type of a thing. Spectators may help hunt for a lost ball, but may not be in front of the group to watch where their ball lands, such as which we call a four caddy. Spectators shall in no instances move a player's bag or ball or offer to provide a ride in a cart during the round, unless you give permission. I have had times when you've got a lot of groups trying to go off a T1. Let's say, well, let's send you over to hole 6 or 7, and we can put everyone in a cart and take them over there. I have no problems with that. I think that's a good thing that we should do. But if, let's just say, a kid gets tired and you're giving them a ride from the tee box to the green, to their next shot, that's not acceptable. So if we do that, they're going to be disqualified and we'll take them out of the tournament. So just so we understand how that works. Spectators shall not be involved in the scoring or recording of scores of the group. They may keep score but cannot correct or dispute the scores of any of the players in the group. That is for the players and the marker to determine. Spectators may give encouraging remarks such as nice shot, great drive, or good putt, and that's one thing that I really love about our group and our association is we have a lot of positivity. A lot of people are out there encouraging all the players and not just their own golfers. Spectators are asked to turn off their cell phones just for good etiquette, and the tournament manager has the right to forbid spectators entirely if they deem necessary. They also have the right to ask any spectator to leave the course. So just so that they have an understanding that they're there to watch and to observe and not there to be helping their players and micromanaging and basically giving rulings and that type of thing. So that's a good explanation of the rules, and hopefully that helps you with running a little bit more efficient tournament.